Today we're discussing the mystery novel called The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Julia Noble. So it's actually a duology. There's two books. I will be talking about the second one in another episode. It is for ages 8 to 12, but I would say all ages would love this book. It's so well written. So the story follows Emmy, a 12-year-old girl who goes to the very fancy British Wellsworth boarding school in the UK, located in the mysterious Black Hollow Lane. As she adjusts to her new surroundings, she uncovers a bunch of crazy secrets surrounding the school and her own family. So she decides to find out the truth, and she finds hidden passageways, cryptic codes, and a web of lies. The book continues, and Emmy discovers a secret society called the Order, and her own family is actually connected with the very suspicious organization. So, trying to protect her family, she and her new friends, Lola and Jack, try to solve the mystery. And it's so well written. There's so many twists and turns in it. Julia Noble really skillfully wrote this book, and it's actually really hard to write a good mystery novel for a certain age and keeping you on the edge of your seat and not just like, oh yeah, I know exactly what's gonna happen. And she did a perfect job. I will definitely be reading this again after I finish all the other books I have to read. Alright, so now I want to talk about my favorite parts. Flipping through the books again is really fun. So one of my favorite parts was when Emmy first meets Lola, one of her best friends. So how it goes is Emmy had just arrived, and she was walking by in the main hall, and people were staring and started whispering like, who is she, and has anyone talked to her yet? But then Lola, as confident and friendly as ever, just comes over and says, in a British accent of course because they're in the UK, honestly, if you want to know who she is, why don't you bloody well ask her? I love that. She's just bold, and she doesn't really care, but she's actually way kinder than all the other girls who were just whispering. And then she just goes up to Emmy and she just shakes her hand, and then she asks, I love this part, now do you want to sit with us, or would you rather stand there and feel like an idiot? And that is just wow. So Emmy of course goes and sits with her because she really likes Lola because she's so nice. And the way she just says, you want to stand there like an idiot? She never ignores things how most people do. When they don't want to talk about something, they just like swerve around it in conversations. But that way she just directly says that. It's great. So after that, she just sits with them and she becomes friends. And later in the book, she also becomes friends with the third person in their threesome, Jack. I love that it's a threesome also because my friend group is a threesome. There's three of us. I won't say their names, but I have a fiery girl who reminds me of Lola so much. I have a cautious and pretty smart girl. She's awesome, and she reminds me of Jack. I feel like I'm the in-between of Jack and Lola, just as Emmy is the in-between. And it also is reminiscent of Harry Potter, don't you think? With Harry, Ron, and Hermione. The personalities are equaled out so nicely, and it just works. There's always an in-between, which is usually the main character, like Harry, and then Hermione's the really smart one, and Ron is the really goofy one, which is a nice balance. But I think in this book, it's more of extremes, which honestly suits the mystery part of it, where Jack is very cautious and he's all wound up in the Order stuff, and Lola is very bold, and if somebody messes with you, she's just like, let's go punch him. And honestly, I love that, and that they keep Emmy in check. If Emmy's getting too like cautious and whatever, Lola makes her do something crazy. But if she's getting too wild, Jack will be like, Emmy, I think you should calm down and think about this before you do it. It's just a really, really good balance of personalities. Okay, so my second favorite part was when Emmy was confronted by Jack's old roommate, Bryn. He's so annoying in the book. He's just, you know, some characters that are just like pricks and you just want to make them stop. It reminds me of Draco Malfoy in a sense. I'm relating a lot back to Harry Potter because it's just very easy to relate other books to. But how this one goes is it's based in the old church that they had gone and visited before. Emmy's friends, Lola and Jack, they'd gone to do their own things, I don't remember, but she decided to go up to the old church because she wanted to compare a letter she had gotten. There's these 2 letters. These are some clues. And they're these letters with the signature of Brother Loyola, and she wanted to see if it was the same handwriting and try to connect the dots because she's figuring out the mystery. And so she had gone to that old church to compare her letter with a letter in this glass case in the old church. She finds it and she compares, and it's the same signature, it's the same Brother Loyola thing, but it's not the same handwriting. One is loopy and the other's messy, and so that's also confusing. So she puts together clues and there must be more than one Brother Loyola, which would make sense. Because it's not like brother as in my brother by blood. It's more of a title, like monks and stuff. Bryn also was there, and he's also part of the order, so he's also evil slightly. He's a bully, but he's not. When you think of bully, you think they're arrogant and they're just brawny and really dumb. But he is very slick. He's very smart. He has lots of wits about him, but not in a good way. And he's always calm, and he always keeps his head. And he's never rash. He never just explodes, how kind of Lola does. As he was taunting her and calling her an arrogant American, making fun of her American heritage, which is dumb because I'm American and Americans are great. So he saw the letter and he snatched it and he freaked out because nobody else is supposed to know about the order, especially Brother Loyola. He pushed her against the wall and tried to make her tell him. How does she know? But Emmy tricked him and kicked him in the shins, which I love because she plays soccer, and he was making fun of her and saying like, oh, you should have done more push-ups at football practice. They call it football, obviously. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm not strong with my hands or my arms, I'm strong with my feet. So she just pretended to like, oh yeah, you defeated me, and kicked him as hard as she could in the shins. It was great. And then she ran literally as fast as she could all the way back to the girl dorms. It's called the Audrey house. There's all these other houses. But then she realized that Bryn still had her letter, which sucks. And so she was freaking out because she needs that. That's part of the clue. So she was upset. And she told Jack and Lola, and she started confiding in them more. And they tried to confront Bryn, but then Bryn made the threat of getting them expelled because he knew that they had snuck in to the computer and Jack had hacked and gotten some information. So they both had dirt against each other, and neither of them wanted to act first because they knew they'd both probably get in trouble. But then again, neither of them could really prove anything. It's crazy. It definitely keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's mysterious and it has its moments, like dark moments, but it's overall a very light read. It's not something you have to sit there like The Hobbit. You have to make time, sit there and read it, because the words they use, very long sentences, very confusing plot. It's like all over the place. It just makes you like, whoa, what is happening? But in this book, it's more of an easy, like you can kind of just relax to pick it up, and that's one of my favorite books. I don't mind the ones that you have to really read, but it's nice to have a book where you can just relax. I don't want to have like an assignment and have to really focus. It's a really good book for that, but at the same time, it's not fluffy. You might as well not be reading. You're obviously just daydreaming. It's a good plot. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. For all the parents out there, if you're watching this, it's definitely good for kids. There's some dark, a little bit violent spots, but it's not like gory. It's not gonna give your kid nightmares. But if your kid is terrified at the least bit of conflict, probably not, because it's a mystery and there is a moment at the end of the book. That's where the main conflict is, and that's where the Brother Loyola and the whole mystery is unraveled as she talks to him, but he has a knife and is threatening her. So it does get a little bit violent, but it's not like some of the books and movies out there. It's not like that at all. But it is a really, really good book. I would definitely recommend it to everybody. I love the characters, even the side characters. One of the side characters, which I love, like, it's more of a love-hate relationship, but her name is Victoria. She's one of those girls where thinks she's the queen of the world. She's really prissy and thinks she just controls everyone. Like, Bryn is the slick bully type, and she's the annoying queen bee kind of thing, and all her little minions. But Emmy has to share a room with her, and there's been a few conflicts, and this is another one of my favorite parts, where Emmy comes to the room, and they're painting their nails on her bed, and she asks them to move, obviously, because she doesn't want hot pink nail polish all over her bed, and it stinks, and Victoria's like, no, like, we're not gonna move, and then she puts the hot pink open nail polish bottle on Emmy's pillow, like balances it. Emmy was furious. So she goes up to her and she's like, get off my bed. Usually she just leaves because she doesn't want to fight. But Victoria gets up and puts like nose to nose. But Emmy doesn't back down, which I love, and that should be an inspiration for a lot of people. Don't back down to bullies because they probably don't want to fight just as much as you don't want to fight. They just don't want to be seen as weak. So Emmy just stands up for herself and she says, get your stuff off my bed. And so Victoria backs down a little bit. She's like, oh, she's not gonna run. So they get their stuff off her bed. But then Emmy's picking up her book and she accidentally, it's an actual accident, drops it. And it hits Victoria's toes, and so she like falls and drags her toes and ruins her nail polish, whatever. And so like, just redo it. And so she's all pissed because it took her forever to do her nails. And I'd be pretty pissed too, but it was an accident. And then, this is the worst part, she takes Emmy's book, opens it, and pours all of the nail polish, sticky hot pink nail polish on all the pages, like flips them. You know how you can flip it and pour it all so it gets in every single page? She did that. So it's a mess, a sticky hot pink mess. You don't even know what the book's about anymore. And so Emmy's kind of freaking out because she needs that. It's a textbook. So afterwards, she switches her books, erases Victoria's name because she wrote it in pencil, which was very dumb. And even she says that. She says, never write in pencil because I could just erase, and she wrote her name in pen. So it made it look like Victoria's book was the one with all the nail polish in it. And so Victoria came down and she's pissed because Emmy had left a note that said like, oh, I borrowed your book, sorry, but I have my book now. And so she's holding the ruined book and she's like, what did you do? And Emmy's like, what are you talking about? I didn't do anything. And then so Victoria's furious and Emmy just goes, it's a really nasty spill, you should be more careful. I love how she says this because usually she's a little bit more like emotional and not calculated in a Bryn kind of way, but that was amazing. She totally got Victoria in that way. But overall, I love the characters, I love the plot, I love all things about it, and the writing style too. That's another thing I love about it, is that it's just, like I said, it's an easy to read book. It's not hard with long sentences with all these weird words that you're probably gonna have to look up. No, it's like an easy, simple, but really good book to read. And I totally recommend this. Thank you all for listening. This has been so fun. If you like this, please follow because I love to talk about the next book and all sorts of other books that I've read. So, hope you enjoyed it. See you guys next time. Bye!